You're the owner of a small business, which means you're also the tech guy, and HR, and personal assistant, and head honcho, and intern. You could use another pair of hands, like the experts you'll find at Verizon Small Business Days, April 21st through 27th. Get a free tech check, special deals, and more. Call 1-800-483-4428 or visit verizon.com/smallbusiness to book your appointment. Verizon Business.
The PC gave us computing power at home, the internet connected us, and mobile let us do it pretty much anywhere. Now generative AI lets us communicate with technology in our own language using our own senses. But figuring it all out when you're living through it is a totally different story. Welcome to Leading the Shift, a new podcast from Microsoft Azure. I'm your host, Susan Ettlinger. In each episode, leaders will share what they're learning to help you navigate all this change with confidence. Please join us. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. The NBA playoffs are here, and Michelob Ultra is getting you closer to the game than ever with courtside seats and more. Enter now at michelobultra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access Courtside 2024 to 2025 sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Ends on July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit michelobultra.com/superior access/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
Welcome back to Infinite Rabbit Hole and Shadowband Podcast. We're doing a swap cast today. Jeremy's not here. He's actually on vacation to the Dominican Republic, where I hear that on his first visit, his, I guess, entry into the Dominican Republic in the airport, he got punched in the face by a lady because he accidentally bumped her with his kid's was it like a car seat? He was wearing it like a backpack and bumped into her, and she turned around and slammed him right in the face. And he said that she hit like a girl, and then he was outnumbered like 4-1. And then their male counterparts rushed in just in case he were to strike back at her, and somehow evaded the situation. So wow, he's obviously having a great time there in the Dominican. We wish him a happy time. Hopefully he can get some relaxation in, less punches to the face, and hopefully he's not focused on the podcast the entire time, because I know that's what he likes to do. But anyway, we are joined today by Jeff and Cramer from Shadowband. Gentlemen, how are you doing? Whoever wants to go first.
Bro, did you give my last name out like that?
Huh?
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, shut up.
The government knows where I'm at, dude.
His mom's maiden name, social security number, and favorite pet growing up was a dog named Toodles.
Whoa. Hey, dude.
Yeah. How did I know, right? How did I know?
You work for PayPal, dude?
Yeah,
part of the PayPal mafia?
Yeah. How you doing, Cramer?
Doing good, man. I don't know. There's been a lot going on, and in the conspiracy world, it's been just messing me up.
Well, there you go. Jeff, how you doing?
What? I'm good, bro. I'm tired. Tired, bro. Work. Somebody's got to pay that defense budget, you know? And
someone's got to fund USAID, dude.
I'm doing my part.
Oh, geez. The only good slush fund is a dead slush fund. I'm doing my part.
Heck yeah, dude.
Sorry about the lighting today. I have the sun going down, and I don't have lighting, a curtain for this window, so it's highlighting. As we were talking about earlier, it's highlighting my power alleys in my head. Put a hat on so no one looks at it.
You looking?
But soon it'll be directly in my face, so I'll be looking at you all like this.
But, the ultimate directed energy weapon, the sun.
That's right. It's getting me. But yeah, no, my weekend's been good. I processed 40 gallons of maple sap yesterday and turned it into syrup, and then shipped that out to my parents and brothers and one of my friends, it cost $90 to ship 4 pint-sized bottles of syrup, 5 pint-sized bottles of syrup.
And you didn't send me any.
Nope. You got to come up here and get it yourself.
I'm not flying anywhere, bro. All these DEI fucking air traffic controllers.
I don't know how that's going to work out. Like I was telling Jeremy on his way to the airport that I hope his plane doesn't crash because of DEI. He's like, wow, that's my number one fear at this moment. I was like, yeah, you'll probably be fine, or you won't, whatever.
I think you and I had that same conversation when you were driving me to the airport. You looked at me and you said something like, if you die, you die. And I was like, yeah.
And then I prayed for you. I prayed for that you'd have a safe flight and stuff like that.
You
but
did indeed.
Left you with that little bit of like, maybe the plane goes down today. Maybe I'm that 1%.
Yeah, it definitely enhanced my fear of dying because I was like, wow, I actually prayed before getting on this plane, which means I'm definitely dying on this plane now because that's how it works.
Yeah.
It would be crazy if you survived the plane flight and then on your way leaving the airport, a plane crashes and it blows up your car.
He lands okay, but as he's leaving, up another plane hits.
Yeah.
It's like I survived, but the guy behind me, not so much. Yeah, that would stink.
Yes, laughing about a horrible disaster that kills lots of people. Yes, dark, sick humor.
You don't laugh, you cry.
Yeah,
the moral of the story is I'm not getting on any planes this year, so I'm probably not coming to UFO days this year. Because
why don't you drive up?
Let's drive.
Dude, that's a 22-hour drive, bro.
You can do it in a day.
If the gas comes down, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we can.
Gosh, I can't wait for that, dude. The fluctuation in my city, it goes from like first thing in the morning, it's down to like the 290s, and then by mid-afternoon, it's up into like the 317s, 320s, 325s.
It's the same here. I think that's pretty much how it goes.
I don't know why it just spikes because I guess that's when all the people are out, right?
We could rent one of those Elon cars and have it drive us there, and then it won't be so bad.
I don't know, man. You might get attacked and firebombed on your way.
That's fine.
As long as we live stream it, we'll make money. So
yeah, dude, this sunlight is just. My head is so shiny. I am the one with the knowledge.
Gleaming, bro.
Just so you know.
You're the enlightened dude. You are the enlightened one. Speak.
Enlightened one. What's that Marvel character? Vision?
5-head man.
5-head man. Jeez.
Screw you, dude. But you're right.
Put a hat on, bro. Crystal said put a fucking hat on, dude.
I don't have a hat near me. I'd have to walk out. All right. Give me a second. Let me go get a hat.
3D print one.
Oh, here, look. I'll use my microfiber cloth for my 3D print. Yeah, 3D print myself a hat. There's my hat.
That's not enough.
Let me go get a hat. This is actually blinding me. So
yeah, it's rough, man. You got to do something about that, bro.
All right, now that he's gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Welcome to Shadow Band Podcast.
Unsubscribe to this podcast and subscribe to Shadow Band Podcast.
That's hilarious. Actually, I think that us doing this stream on Infinite Rabbit Hole tonight, I think we'll put it into affiliated status. We got all the followers we needed last stream.
Tight.
Skeeter said that made it worse. Yeah, we know that made it worse, brother. He's gonna go put on blackface. That's the only thing that'll really fix it.
Dude, that would be the ultimate, dude. Clip it.
All right, there. I'm wearing another podcast hat.
There you go.
Sweet. Cramer, are you coming to UFO Days too?
I mean, if I can, I'll be there, bro.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Yeah, I've never been. I didn't even know it was a thing, but I'll be there.
It's not the craziest thing in the world. We probably won't see any UFOs. We might. We probably won't.
If I'm there, it's going to be a good time.
Apparently, we left early on Saturday, but apparently they get turned up. So we left like probably 9 when the event closed, but apparently they start playing live music in the square and everyone gets hammered drunk. And they were out till like 2:00 in the morning, just getting smashed in the middle of the street, trying to call the UFOs in. So
no, we went home early. We were wrecked, man. We were so tired.
We might have to have napping schedules so we can stay up because I mean we were out there at we were up at 4:00 in the morning, getting out there early to set up and all that sort of stuff. By the time 9 rolled around, it's like, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to do this right now, and then still having to drive 35 minutes back home. But yeah, it should be a good time. So hopefully, if nothing else, we'll have to do a shift rotation so that some of us will be out there goofing off and can report and be all hungover the next day. Feel like garbage. But yeah,
that sounds fun.
All right. So I didn't really look into this whole pyramid thing. You could call it a pyramid scheme if you'd like to. Because I'm so tired of getting BS'd and lied to that when I saw it, I was just like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Another one of those things where no one can disprove it except for the people who are reporting on it, right?
There you go, dude.
So it's like, it's the same thing for me with, because no one's going to dig down, right? No one is going to get authorization to dig underneath the pyramids and expose all of this stuff because it might ruin the thing, right? It might ruin one of the 7 wonders of the world. So all we can do is see the one person who said, I found this, and then no one else can debate them because they don't have the information. That's how I feel about it. But
I believe it. I believe it because it's the only thing in the news cycle right now where the Jews didn't do it. Clearly now they didn't build that. They didn't even know it was there. So they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I believe just for that purpose and that alone.
I love that whole I've had people debate me and say, it says, or the archaeologists have found, detailed receipts from people who built the pyramids and payments for their labor. So that means the Jews didn't do it. And I was like, the Bible doesn't say the Jews built the pyramid. The Bible says that they were enslaved in Egypt. They could have been doing anything. They could have been farmers. It had nothing to do with the pyramids, probably. Those were built by the Anunnaki and all the giants and stuff like that. And then the frickin', all these people. And then the Egyptian moved in and they're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, might as well live here. This has got some cool stuff. Right? What is this? Is this an ad? Oh no, never mind. It changed.
It was an ad, but I closed out the ad. No, this is just an article. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Speaking of the Jews,
I don't believe it.
Scientists say they use.
Post, I don't believe it.
Scientists say they use new tech to find vast city beneath the pyramids. See, this is the thing. Like I've seen so many different headlines, like vast city, vast structures. Like who knows what
tunnels
it is
with spirals and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Here it is. Italian and Scottish researchers claim they found a major discovery beneath the pyramids of Giza. Blah blah blah.
I didn't know the Italians and the Scots were going at this project together. That's interesting.
Yeah, like
here we go. Using technology known as synthetic aperture radar (SAR), which combines satellite radar data with tiny vibrations from naturally occurring seismic movements. This method creates 3D images of what lies beneath the Earth's surface without the need for physical excavation, blah, blah, blah. There's some nugs.
Whoa.
Some nice nugs and legal weed.
Nugs and fat people.
Nice. Oh, prostate stuff. Prostate. All right. We got everything there, man. What is your algorithm, bro?
That's the Jerusalem Post, bro. I don't know. That's just...
They're really into those prostates. As a half Jewish person, I can tell you, as the Jewish ambassador, very big into prostates.
I also have this, I got this little, this is what they found.
Wow.
That is, come on, dude.
So it's
you see the pyramid at the top. The pyramid's fucking huge, man. Right? Like we've all seen pictures of it and shit. Like it's huge. And then inside the pyramid, you see there's those 5 little chambers, which
like a
they know of one, which is the quote unquote king's chamber. Right. But now apparently there's 5 identical ones in there. So they're like, oh shit. And then there's these 8 fucking spiral tube tunnels that go down to these 2 fucking giant blocks down there, but those blocks are like the size of the pyramid, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's how it goes down like 2 kilometers underground.
That's wild.
I've been saying it on the pod for years now. Whatever happened at that time was so wild God buried it and struck it from the record. Like you're never doing this again. Whatever that was, you're never doing it again. You're not even approximating it again. It's so crazy.
It makes me wonder because, the earth was so bad that God decided he regretted his creation, decided to kill almost everyone, right? But you look at the world today and it's pretty bad. It's like,
not that bad.
The Bible says, like, as in the days of Noah, people are feasting and getting married and all this sort of stuff. They really don't know what's going to come next. In that case, it was the flood. In the next one, it's, the Antichrist. And then when he speaks the world out of existence with a loud sound and the whole universe explodes at the very end, and then there's the new creation. But how bad was it, right, that something like this would happen? I can't imagine that the pyramids would be suspended on top of them like a big arrow or something like that. Like, that doesn't seem likely.
It just makes me wonder. Go ahead.
I heard this years ago. Someone out there, some weird, I don't know, but they said that the pyramids were likely on stilts. And I was like, that's not possible. And then to see this, I'm like,
and
someone else called
under
it.
All the sand from all the water rushing around and pushing it all over the place.
Yeah.
Gosh, wouldn't that be nuts? What if they had?
I don't know, man.
What if they had levitation technology and they could just suspend something that weighs an ungodly amount of weight that you can't even comprehend up on pedestals like that, and it just like there it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
God's like, no, we're not doing this, and wipe it off.
It goes through the fucking limestone and shit that's down there, right? It's not just like sand that's underneath the pyramids. So like it's a subterranean structure of some kind. It's not like it's just been buried by sand.
No, okay, yeah, sure, you're right.
Like the pyramids at one point were like mostly buried by sand. There's like old pictures. Now these could be fake pictures, right? Like fake history shit. But there are like old black and white photos from when the camera was very first invented, right? And you can see pictures of like, the pyramids, and half of it is buried under sand. The Sphinx is like completely buried under sand. So that, there's a lot of sand up there, but all that other shit down below, like that's in the rock, that's down in the fucking limestone or granite or whatever the hell that is that's down there.
Yeah, but I don't know why I was thinking that they were just sitting on sand. That was kind of silly.
What's crazy to me is like, those things go down to those two cube structures at the bottom. And I'm thinking to myself, like, is that just the limit of this SAR technology? Like, is that just the limit of what they can scan and get a representation? Like, is there more that's down there?
Bro, if there's more, come on. You know what I mean? Like, this has already been messing me up so much because everybody in this realm has their suspicions about where those came from. Archaeologists have said for like a decade now that the erosion on the pyramids is more consistent with water erosion than wind erosion. So it's like, okay, flood. All right. And then that means that they're pre the Egyptians of the Bible. They're whatever people were there before that. So then you're like, whoa, like even before that, they were building these things and what was going on there. So then, you're thinking about, the Anunnaki and the Nephilim and like, okay, there's some, but then you see that like, there's something underneath there, and you're like, for me, I'm just like, wow, something really did happen. Like there's not a chance that it's the understanding that we've had for centuries now. It's definitely something else was going on, and like there's no conspiracy theory anymore. Like if that's there, something else was on Earth helping humans build this stuff, or building it, and we just found it.
Definitely.
I give more credit to humans, man. I mean, like, I do believe that there was probably giants at some point. And I do believe there's definitely like lost technologies and like lost physics, that kind of thing. But I think a lot of the great structures, right, like the shit that's under the pyramids, I think humans could have built that. I just think what you have to do is you have to stretch out the timeline of like how long people have been doing shit. Right, because this idea that people have only been doing shit for like, I don't know, like 6,000 or 7,000 years. Right, before that we were just fucking around. Well, 10,000 years ago we were just following fucking elk and shit through the ice. no, I think you have to stretch the timelines back, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago. We were doing shit. Right?
Even
Not
from
just
the biblical perspective, where people will say 8,000 years and stuff like that. For one, if you were to look at that perspective, it's theorized that even from a 6 or 7, 8,000 year time that we've been here, that there have been approximately 80 to 85 billion people that have lived and died on this planet, right? So there's that, right?
Whoa, I didn't know it was that high of a number.
Big families, high death rate, lots of wars, lots of conflicts, disease, plagues, yada, 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 right? So the manpower's there, but also the Bible doesn't say that Adam and Eve were the only two people. It says that they were the first two people, because Cain left his parents after he murdered his brother and married a woman in another land. So there were other people. Now, I can't think for a second that Adam and Eve stayed in the garden for all of a week and then sinned against God. They may have been in that garden for 50,000 years before they sinned against God, right?
Yeah.
So in that time frame, there's those people that are doing whatever the heck it is that they're doing, right, for that time frame. And that's kind of where I go to. So it's like,
well, yeah, it also says like when he curses Eve.
So good, so good, so good.
Great gifts for mom? We've got them. And they're up to 60% off at Nordstrom Rack stores now.
You know they have Marc Jacobs?
Gotta show mom some love.
That is so good.
Snag amazing deals on Mother's Day gifts from Barefoot Dreams, Kate Spade New York, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
He says childbirth will now be painful.
right.
So it's like, it implies that it wasn't at first.
Right.
So they will now bear children in pain or whatever, however it's phrased.
A lot of them for it to be that big enough deal for God to announce that this is a change, right? Like there must have been a lot of childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very well possible. I mean, the other possibility is that it was a relatively short time frame that they were there, and now that's just relatively short.
Sure.
Who knows actual short? But then there was a video I saw. This lady was talking about re-engineering the human genome. The rate of gene variance between generations and like the amount of variance you can have.
Right.
So she was saying that like between every generation, there's a certain amount of variability that could happen. And if you go backwards, the variability increases. So you have more variation possibilities the further back you go. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, I wonder how far back you can go to where you have one single pair that has the potential for all variations. So like it's just maxed out variability. Right. And so I think she could go back like 12,000 years using whatever formula she had. And you can go all the way back about 12,000 years. She said you can get to two human beings when they could populate
those two humans. Let's say they were like of the same race, right?
Yeah.
Two Nordic humans, a male and a female, they could have a baby. And because of the possible genetic sequencing at that point, they could pop out like a black Asian kid.
Any eye color, any hair texture, any height, anything. They could just it's completely random.
Child. They could put out like a zebra child.
Yeah, you could have giants, you could have super tiny, you could have like just the possibility is endless. So that she was saying you could get back to an Adam and Eve within about 12,000 years off of the gene expression rate. So with that being said, you can get to like and because of how long everybody lived, once they're out of the garden, she starts cranking out kids. You can marry or whatever, you can procreate with a sibling because there's no chance. The variability is so wide. There's no chance of what we have as an inbreeding system. Right. Yeah. So, and like that, the ordinance didn't come in till 2,000 years later to Moses that the inbreeding, whatever, that whole thing wasn't even a thing until then. So it's like, it's very possible that, it's very likely that Cain just married a sister.
Right.
Not
Sure.
like we think of it
Yeah.
now, but like genetically more distant, like an actual blood sister of his was genetically more different than you and I are.
See, this is like,
That's cool.
ancient astronaut probably isn't the best term because it implies that they come from outer space. But like, I am in favor of some of the ideas of like the ancient astronaut idea, right? Where like something manipulated with our DNA or something at some point in history, right? So let's say what you're talking about, going back about 12,000 years and like the genome and all this, right? I'm still leaning on like, hey, the history of, call it humans building shit on Earth has to go back much further, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the erosion on the Sphinx, right? What's under the pyramids, like all these things, right? It just points to they purposely built or buried Göbekli Tepe like 12,000 years ago, right? They purposely buried it, which means they must have built it before then, right? So I think maybe there was like a lineage of beings that were here for, call it, I don't know, 100,000 years, building crazy stuff, right?
Well,
And
have
like
you
what you're
seen
talking-
the discovered fossilized toes of Noah?
What?
They're giant.
No, but listen. But what I'm thinking is that if
I'll look it up.
if some other entity or maybe other beings that lived here, I don't know, whatever it is, something happened, they intervened with the genome, and some of the stories that you would get in the Bible could be like metaphoric in a way, right? Like this whole, like you're talking about, where like, hey, childbirth is now going to be painful. Like all these things are going to happen now. Like this sin has been committed, right? Is that sin really just a metaphor for like this manipulation of the beings that were here to create the beings that we are now, right?
Yeah, like pre-flood, anything kind of goes, because you have not just biblical stories, but like all cultures have some sort of root in that there was beings that told us things that we didn't know. You have interactions with deities and all kinds of stuff. So it's like anything's on the table at that point, from that time period, and then like a little bit after, because it's like there are giants. Whatever they could do, they're not necessarily like, just big club wielding giants that are dumb, big ogres. Like they could have also possibly, all that brain matter, they could have been psychic, they could have been all kinds of stuff, just knowing everything. If we're interacting with like the Dagon fish god thing that was telling the holy moly, dude.
So this is apparently a giant human bone that was found at the base of Mount Sinai, around where Noah is said to be buried. And so they're proposing that the ark was so big and it could have been made like that because Noah was in himself and his family, probably they were giants.
Wasn't he like 900 years old or something?
Yeah,
He was pretty old. I think he got into
That's
the
what I'm saying.
800s.
Like he was like call it like a pre-flood being, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So and then post-flood, this is what Cramer's trying to talk about too, right? Like post-flood, like we only live 100 years. Now we have all these fucking ailments. The sun is dangerous. Like whatever you want to, throw at it. We're just different. Like something happened. And I would argue that it was probably a genetic thing, right? It probably had something to do with the genome. I mean, there's like people who talk about like the fusing of some of these, parts of the DNA. I don't know how to explain this. I'm not a geneticist, but like,
oh, like I know what you're saying. The that guy was talking about. So when after the flood, when God says that humans will only live for like 120 years, whoever, I don't remember what scientist actually figured it out, but they were looking at the telomeres and they're like, there's a cap on them. Like there's no reason for it to be there, but they just stop. You can't get any older than that, or roughly, but like it is capped. It doesn't have to be, but for some reason it just is. It's like, where did that come from?
Yeah. To me, like, and that doesn't negate, I don't know. See, like, I don't know. I'm torn because I think that the people who run the world, which includes the people who have like had a hand in like writing a lot of the religious texts in history, right?
Jews, yeah.
Those people, right? The Jews, sure, whatever. Like those people, like they're in a specific cult, right? And I'm not talking about any of these like major monotheistic religions that we all know of, right? Like I've talked about this on both of our shows. Like these Saturn death cult people, these people who literally are in this other cult, who literally worship a god that thinks it's God. And for all intents and purposes, it is the Satan archetype, right?
Right.
We've talked about like Yaldabaoth, Satan, Saturn, right? Like it's the same archetype, slightly different verbiage in the stories and like this and that. But like, so to me, when I hear things like, hey, this flood happened and everything that happened after this, right? Like, is this totally different reality for the beings that live on this earth, right? To me, that's almost like a manipulation of the story to put in their cult into some of these religious texts. And when you're talking about like all of the cultures and religions across the world have like some variation of this kind of thing, right? Like to me, like when you see Graham Hancock talk about these beings on all these hieroglyphs and these reliefs and all these carvings, the man bag, the purse, right? The bag of knowledge, whatever being this was, Thoth or something that was going around post flood and like giving the knowledge to the Central Americans, to the people over in the Middle East, like how to build pyramids, how to use geometry, how to use math, how to look at the stars and like tell time and these types of things. Whatever culture that was bringing the information, like that is the light, the information, the knowledge, right? Like that is, I don't know how to explain, man. It's hard for me to articulate this.
Biblically speaking,
they were fulfilling their own prophecy of this like bringer of light, this Luciferian idea, and they were erasing the old religions of the time. And now we've just happened to live 2,000 years later. So like we're looking at like a weird version of this, like,
Yeah, we're trying to
biblically
glean what we can from relics.
One of the reasons why God flooded the earth was due to call them the daughter or the sons of heaven, right? The angels coming down and procreating with the daughters of men and creating a race of giants that were the men of renown, right? So all those ancient stories and all that sort of stuff. He then takes those angels that did that and seals them in the pit to be released during the tribulation, right? So they are bound in, let's call it in chains, awaiting the day to come out and wreak havoc on the earth. But the children, right? Let's call them demigods, but is more like demi-demons, right? So they're now hybrids. It doesn't say in the Bible that the flood removed that genetic code from the human race. Obviously, if that is Noah's toe or a part of his toe bones, then obviously it was still there. And at what point, and it does say that, that humans were taught some kind of like metallurgy or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but from these demonic, beings. So they were taught all this sort of stuff. Now, if that genetic code or that, giant whatever was still around, say that they're demonically influenced beings that have all of that extra knowledge that people don't have. And with the spreading out, right after Noah's Ark is the Tower of Babel, where God confuses the language and people go this way and people go that way. And so all these different cultures that all have a flood experience because they all have in their backstory of where we came from Noah and his family and all that sort of stuff because of the flood, right? So that's why all the cultures have the same story. It's because it actually happened, and it's just the same common story of the background of where we came from, right? Yeah. So because of the original people that were populating the area. But on top of that, you also probably have this giant race that still exists, and that's why we have giants all over the place, in burial mounds, and not just, we found a skeleton, underneath the ocean, buried under sediment. Like there's actually like they were maybe worshipped as gods in certain regions, and then given a, you know, ritualistic burial and stuff like that. And that's why you find them in mounds and stuff, and here in Wisconsin, right? Type stuff, right? So the Native Americans could have been worshiping them, you know, or, you know, at least would find them and be like, well, this is, you know, a god or something like that, right? Let's give it a proper burial, right? So I mean, there's all these sorts of variations, but with the spreading out of people, that's why you find the same sort of pyramids, because they had the same information. You find the same pyramids similar in the Mayan cultures, right? And then you get them in you know, other places too, but it's like, it's the same geometry. It maybe look different, but it's the same geometry. It still lines up with the stars, all these sorts of things. So I think that it's not too far to say that the reason why there's all these varying cultures all over the place is because people were spreading out and they all had that same information. They all had their own backstory of where we came from. That's why you get all the flood things. But then also there's giant skeletons all over the place, and some of them very, you know, 8 feet tall. I'd say that's pretty big. You know, see a person that's 7'1", that's pretty big. But, you know, you get up to 9, 10, 11 feet, right? Type stuff. And it's just like, okay, that's, you know, kind of crazy. There's no one that I know of walking around that's that tall without a, you know, problem with their brain, and then they end up dying in their 20s, right? So, you know, those sorts of people just can't exist anymore. But they used to, and maybe they had the same information as the demons who were creating giants in the first place, right?
Yeah, I think like
that knowledge, right? Somehow.
Going back to what Jeff was saying, like there is clearly some sort of significance to these like enhanced humans, hybrid humans, or whatever.
Oh, certainly.
So there's no reason to believe that Noah's descendants are not telling stories about, you know, old, you know, Shemgor, that was like this giant guy that like did whatever. And then they're like, oh, well, you know, that, you know, that's cool. That's a cool story. I'm gonna worship that guy or his spirit or whatever. But then also like post flood, this is what I'm saying. Like when spooky stuff happens and weird mystical stuff happens, these interventions or whatever, the supernatural stuff happens, it's like so many things are now back on the table as possibilities. Like in not the actual Bible, but in the book of Jasher, it talks about Nimrod and how he stole the skins that God gave Adam and Eve. He steals the skins from Shem or Ham or whatever.
Right.
And when he puts them on, he starts to like do over a little bit of time. Like they've been touched by God. So they just have like something supernatural about them. And he starts to get like super smart, becomes a crazy good hunter, and is like now becoming the leader of everybody. Like he's just outperforming all the other humans. And then he's the one that's orchestrating the Tower of Babel, which again, in that book is said that like the distance across it was a 3 days journey.
Jeez.
It's not like, you know, the Tower of Pisa and they were actually built something cool. Like this was a giant citadel that was so significant that once again, God was like, there they go again. It's because they can all talk together. So then he confuses language, but also the whole thing collapses. And so I believe it's toward the end of the book, he says that the whoever's writing Jasher is like, because it's way after the fact, they're like half of it's still sticking out of the ground, the other half sunk. So like, the story is true or what I'm telling you because half of it's still out there. So this was crazy. Those people that built that thing and were led by Nimrod and all the crazy stuff that he was getting humans back into, all of those people are now mythologized or whatever, whatever the word is. And so all the cultures that spread from there that go off into Asia and go off into Africa, or further down in Africa to go up to Europe and go up and get all the way to Australia. All of those people they have those stories of these guys that we built this thing and this guy was crazy and this guy maybe had a little bit of extra something special and there's some weird stuff that was happening again. And so then you get the Egyptians and all these, you get Thoth and like these stories come from, I think, real people that, like Jeff's saying, like this archetype that everybody can share because it was real. It's a real guy. It's a real person. And, the story changes a little bit over time. But once that, if it's possible, again, it's not canonized, so I take it with a grain of salt. Right. But if something like that could be done, I mean, eventually we're going to find the tower, whatever's left of the Tower of Babel. Someone's going to do this LiDAR thing and be like, I think this is where they made it, and boom, and they're going to find it, and they're just going to be like,
at least the foundation of it.
At least.
Another thing that I saw that was interesting, I'll try to find it after I rant about it for a second here, but there's been a few other discoveries using LiDAR and this other technology too. There was another temple, I forget the name of it, but I'll find it here. They scanned this temple and it's covered in trees. I think it's in like Central America somewhere. So it's like in the jungle, right? And it's like one of the biggest temples, in the world, temple complexes in the world. So they scan this thing, they get all like the high def resolution of like, what's actually there, all the structures and stuff. And there's like very specific set of geometric patterns that they're finding, right? And they look like these back and forth squiggly lines, right, that like track with each other like a game of Snake, but the whole game is full from the snake, right? Like it's super intricate. And I was watching this video, and this guy, he was like, I'm a computer engineer, and he's like, this is a microchip. He's like, looking at this, my first thought is this is a microchip. And like, he's breaking down how microchips work and how the energy is like flowing through these.
Peter says in
Cambodia, thank you. See, and it's interesting because I've talked about this like a little bit before, but there's like a good term, if you want to Google this, would probably be like microchip Earth theory, right? Or something like that. And the idea is that a lot of the structures, especially back then in ancient times, right? Let's call it pre-flood, right? Times. Who the fuck? My fucking phone.
Damn, you owe us all donuts now.
The CIA is like, shut up.
You guys hear missiles?
So anyways, so like all of the structures, especially back then of the cities and stuff on a macro scale, are set up in a design to like,
is anyone out there?
Another salesperson enduring the endless search. Exhausting. If you want to get right to the right conversations, you need LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Whether you're looking for new leads or strengthening existing relationships at your top accounts, get right to the right conversations with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Try LinkedIn Sales Navigator now with a free 60-day trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial.
Terms and conditions apply!
Funnel energy. So if you look at like a Google map image of like a city layout right now, you'll notice like certain geometric patterns, the roads are laid out in like grid shapes, and there's like, I don't know, everything is very like geometric. Now you can make an argument like, hey, that's just the most efficient way to do this, to lay roads, and it's just the way we do it. Okay, sure. Or you could look at it from like this computer engineer mind and say, hey, look, this is like a perfect way to like funnel energy or siphon energy or whatever the case might be. And when you look at these temple complexes, like these geometric patterns, they all lead to like some monument or some center or some place. And it's almost as if like these were all either energy devices of some kind, or maybe it was spiritual energy. Maybe they were on another level. When I talk about lost knowledge and lost physics, if you want, right? Sure. Maybe there's something to, if you have enough people, let's say your entire society, right? Some estimates are saying that there were cities in the Amazon jungle that had millions of people living in them, right? So if you have 1 million people showing up at a specific celestial event, like a solstice or a fucking something, right? And they're all, let's say, praying, right? Or putting off this energy into a specific direction or whatever, a specific frequency, and the entire infrastructure around you, the streets, the walls, the buildings, everything is creating like a tuning fork to focus this energy onto, I don't know, your pyramid or something. You could somehow generate something, open a portal, I don't know, a Stargate, power your fucking city, everybody comes themselves, I don't know what happened. Like something's got to happen.
They're vibrated into a massive singular orgasm.
Right. Maybe that's what
they have become
poofed. They just poofed away. They came themselves out of existence.
It's the 3000 BC city bust.
Skeeter says in the chat, he said this a little bit ago, but he says, what if the pyramid on top is to cover something or keep something out or keep something in, I suppose.
Oh God. No,
so like what they break it open
scary.
and then all the demons come out that have been caged. That's the pyramid.
It's too scary.
Leviathan comes out of there, bro. See, that's some shit. Like, I'm about that, man. That's a cool way to like think about stuff, because you talk about like Revelations or like any of these other prophecies, you know, like the Titans are gonna return to fucking, you know, whatever, or like Ragnarok, like these giant beasts are gonna come and fucking end the world. It's like, what if that is some shit? What if we just unlocked and opened a fucking gate into like the depths? Cramer was talking about this one day, like some river dried up. Remember,
oh, dude, no, it didn't dry up. It's drying up, dude.
Yeah.
No, somebody get a bucket of water, dude.
And it's crazy too, because it's not even drying up naturally. It's drying up because of damming projects.
Yeah.
In all of human history, the Euphrates River has never been dry, and it's drying up. And it's said that the demons are locked into it. So
yeah, there's like 12 angels or something like that bound at the Euphrates. Look, I've said it a million times. We are like the singularity, right? This convergence. It's not necessarily with the machine. I think that's like a tangential one. There's a convergence to the stuff that's happening. Like, people can say whatever they want about the Bible. There's no reason for it to know all the way back then that there's a cap on your telomeres. It doesn't know how to say it, but it just says you can't live that long. Right? There's no reason for there to be like all this hinting at a breakaway civilization all the way back then. You know, someone was just making stuff up and decided to make that up. And then, come to find out 4,000 or 5,000 years later, there was. Who'd thunk it? It's like, there's like throwaway things in there that are just massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, it's not the pinnacle of the story. It's not even the focal point of it. It's just like, oh yeah.
By
this
the way,
happened. Yeah. By the way, giants. By the way, and like this stuff comes out way after too. Like when Israel goes into the Promised Land, they're like, "We're not going to win." There's a whole city of giants.
Yeah,
that wasn't that long ago, dude. And then, however many hundreds of years later, David has to go fight all those Philistines, and there's Goliath, still a giant. It's like, bro, they're still around.
You know why? So I went to a Christian men's retreat. It was a 3-day long thing, and there was the guy was really hyper focused on giants. The whole topic was about like the history of giants, and it basically came down to, that's pretty cool,
dude.
Basically, came down to doing what God tells you to do and doing it the exact way He tells you to do it. Right? If He assigns you to a task, to come to fruition with it. But the reason why David had to fight Goliath was because when the Israelites were first going in and warring with all of the other places that they're warring with, you know, people always say that. It's like, oh, well, if God's so good, why is there wars and death and all this sort of stuff? Because when God goes to take that stuff out, everyone complains about it. But they were warring with all of the nations around them, like the Canaanites and the Amorites and all these different people, because they were races of giants. And David, or who was it? They didn't do Joshua. Joshua was leading the charge. Moses and Joshua. Moses died. Joshua took over.
Joshua and Caleb.
He was supposed to eliminate all of the races of giants, all of these civilizations where giants were living, and he didn't. He left one out, and that one spawned Goliath.
The Philistines. Wow,
yeah. Because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. He left one out, and then David had to fight Goliath, and he came out of that nation that Joshua left over, because it's like, yeah, we did most of it, you know, it'll be all right. But it's just like, but yeah,
it's interesting that God is like on a mission to wipe that from the record, though. You know, like it was that crazy. And then what we're doing is crazy, but how is it not that crazy? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I was bugging me out today thinking that I was working, and I'm like, bro, somebody somewhere could possibly be watching me talk about something I said years ago, but right now. Like my existence is captured by electricity and receptors and is now kept on a server somewhere in it's just electricity. This moment is being captured by light and then being stored in a box somewhere. And then somebody can go and access the light and it can beam it into their eyes. And the sound of the frequency of my voice is oscillating this little thing that's transmitting it into more light that's also getting stored in a box and getting written on a piece of copper somewhere. And then somehow it doesn't make any sense, but we're doing it all the time, everywhere. And immediately, like I'm talking to you right now, you're not here, you're somewhere far away, and we're speaking in real time to each other. I can see you. How is this not crazier than that?
Speaking of talking, this is a good point. Let's say, because I believe it, but let's say that the technologies of those first people, the ones who actually built the pyramids, whoever they may have been, right? The architects or, Anunnaki or giants or whoever, right? Let's say that their technology was more advanced than we are right now, right? What if, because it's unclear what ancient Egyptians sounded like. Because when we could translate it and we have current day Egyptians, but words and dialects and things change over time, right? Like it's, for example, all the different dialects and all the different accents we have here in the United States, right? Originally, people spoke English, or they spoke French, or they spoke German, or wherever they came from, and then that's translated through the years into certain areas. Like you get the Northeast, and they have that Boston accent, all that sort of stuff, and then completely different from the Southern accent, a California accent, whatever, right? Or all the people here that say "bag," right? So here in Wisconsin, so that changes, right? The way people speak, depending on where they come from and all that sort of stuff, it changes. So how cool would it be now on the opposite side, they could crack this thing open that they found underneath the pyramids and release some plague that has been dormant for, thousands of years and kill everybody on earth. But on the other side of that, what if they were to find like an ancient recording device with people talking on it, leaving a message, and we could actually hear what people sound like back then? Just as kind of like, it'd be cool.
That would be cool.
But what if they had the message for all of the ancient technologies too?
I like kind of what Peter said, man, like something along those lines. Cause like Göbekli Tepe, right? Again, like they purposely buried that place 12,000 years ago. Like those people knew that the entire area was going to get fucked up from a cataclysm somehow. I don't know how they knew this shit. They were watching the sky really close, and they knew that this fragment
started raining for the first time.
Whatever the fuck happened, right? Yeah. Like, so they purposely buried this giant complex full of like the craziest shit that's twice as old as the fucking pyramids, right? Yeah. And it's like, that one discovery, by the way, literally doubled the age of, human civilization. Okay.
How do they know the age of things like that? Like, because all they're doing is carbon dating the rocks, right?
No, you can't carbon date rock. They carbon date organic material that's found in or around the rock, like
so like mortar samples or something.
Something like they'll dig out a piece of mortar and they'll find like a piece of grass that's in the mortar, and they'll fucking carbon date that, right? Or however they'll do it. Or like you said, a piece of pollen that they find wedged in between some rocks, and they're like, well, this is, this couldn't have been here if the rocks weren't here, so it's at least X old. But carbon dating is not even accurate after X amount of years too. I forget the number, we looked it up one time, but it's only a few thousand years carbon dating is accurate, because the half-life of fucking carbon keeps decaying, and after X thousand years, like you're just pissing in the wind, you're just guessing. So when they're like, oh, fucking 65 million years ago, it's like, shut up, dude.
Sure.
But my point is just that, like, with one discovery of one place that was purposely buried doubles the age of civilization. So, and what Skeeter's saying, like, oh, it's probably a giant capstone keeping the fucking Leviathan or whatever. Maybe it's more like you're talking about where it's a time capsule, just like Göbekli Tepe. Hey, we know some shit's going down. Civilization's not what we think it is. Whatever happened, it's going down. So we got to bury all this shit. We got to cover it up. We got to build a fucking pyramid, a massive pyramid structure that'll never be destroyed. Build this on top of this other thing that we worship, right? Like just like in Göbekli Tepe. Burying Göbekli Tepe would have been like a monumental feat, from what I understand. Like from the vast, like how big the area is, and like the amount of shit they would have had to bring in to bury all these structures, like without fucking them up and all this. Like it would have been crazy. It would have been just as crazy as building the pyramids. So
when you say that it was buried on purpose,
right,
is it more likely that it was buried on purpose or that it just was buried?
No, because they've done studies and like tested the soil and shit they know that the certain gradient, it's not like a slow, gradual, like dirt and dust has just been burying this place over time.
Sure.
Because at the bottom, the mixture of what they're using to bury is the same as what's at the top. So it's like in a short period of time.
Dirt went from this place to this place.
Right.
Not dirt was moved and then kind of just gradually over it. Right.
They've dug out all this dirt, and they're like, the dirt at the bottom is the same as the dirt at the top. And it's like a specific type of, like, I don't know how they've explained it. Like
their soil or whatever. Yeah, sure.
They've mixed it, with the shit or whatever. And they're like, yeah, no, they know for sure that they buried this, and they buried it carefully to make sure nothing got fucked up, like a time capsule. And again, it was monumental. So there's no reason for me to think that they wouldn't also build a giant fucking pyramid as a stone to cover up a time capsule of some kind. Right?
There's so many things in this earth that are just like that. Like the soil in the Amazon is man-made, right? Like there's so much stuff where it's just like, what on earth was going on?
Yeah.
What was going on?
Yeah, well, in that city, like it's built like a microchip. Like,
yeah,
how does anybody know? Like, is it written in our DNA? Like, people don't think like humans have instincts like animals do, but
certainly we do.
We have to, but like high level instinct to be like, oh, we can create things, and it's just like something seems to be in us where it's like there's something there where we go to this microchip build. People that had no idea what a microchip is, they build a city that's built like a power grid.
Yeah. I mean, like I could say some of that you could attribute some of that to like psychedelics, right? Because every culture through the evolution of society had like shamans, or like the entire culture was doing psychedelics regularly, right? Like some people even argue, like Terrence McKenna was saying, like we've evolved from fucking primates to humans because of psychedelics, because we're eating them for a million years, right? So, and there is something to that. Like I've had experiences personally where like, you're having a trip and like you're seeing geometric patterns, you're seeing, like things that don't exist in nature, you're seeing like in your head, which is weird, right? And that sounds weird because you could just think of anything, but you're on a psychedelic experience, right? Like you're witnessing geometric patterns forming, and it's like, how the fuck is that happening? So it's not beyond me to think that like, cultures and builders, right? Like the Freemasons originally were Masons, right? And they were the builders, right? And they were also aware of psilocybin and like these ritualistic aspects of like doing these types of drugs. So I think that they were definitely doing mushrooms, seeing geometric patterns and building them. And then in that process, it just so happens that like, oh, these geometric structures are also the best things to build with, right? Like just so happens building a fucking square works pretty good. Building a pyramid works pretty good, right? Like, so once
is there anything to the laser? When people are taking like DMT and then looking into the laser beam and like you could see it. Have you seen that?
I have seen people doing that. I've never done that. I mean, listen,
like a great way to blind yourself.
Part of me, well, they're not looking at the laser.
It's just like shining it in the eye.
And they're seeing binary code, which, listen, man, there's really smart people who are smarter than all of us, including the people listening to this. There are people who are really smart in this world who claim that we're most likely in a simulation. So half of me sees these people and I'm like, okay, this guy's definitely tripping too hard to be staring at lasers on the wall and seeing binary, but also maybe there might be something to that because, like I said, when you're in that state of mind, you're in a flow state. And anybody, like we've all, I think, been in flow states before, right? When you're writing music or something, right, Cramer? You get into a rhythm and a mode about an hour in to your session where like nothing else exists in the world except the riff you're working on or the painting you're doing, whatever the thing, when you're in that flow state.
You're almost like pulling it out of the ether. I tried to explain to somebody how like writing music is, and I'm like, I'm finding it. I'm discovering it. Like there's something there, and I'm like reaching for it with my senses to be like, there it is. And like, okay. And here's what the words should be. And like, everything just starts to like morph and materialize, but it's like out of nothing. It didn't exist. And then my brain, and so definitely it could be something where like
you're putting your brain into, I forget which wave state, I don't remember all this shit,
retarded
theta state or whatever. Yeah. Whichever theta, alpha brain waves. One of these
retarded.
Yeah, I get stupid, dude.
But like,
not the Down syndrome kind, the real kind.
When you get on that level, information it comes to you. And psychedelics is just like an enhancer of that, right? So I think that there's a lot to that, but like I always say, man, they were doing some other shit with that information too. There's no way that they were building a 2-kilometer deep structure underneath the pyramid, which is already like one of the great wonders of the world. How the fuck did they build this pyramid? Oh, by the way, that's just the top of it.
They dug through 2 kilometers down through limestone to make a bunch of chambers and 2 squares at the bottom and maybe more.
This whole idea of like cavemen and we were just like oonga boonga walking around, like, dude, no, there's no evidence of that ever.
Yeah.
Like some humans are like that today, but that's because they're isolated. We weren't isolated. We could go anywhere. And the world was for the discovery. We weren't purposely like isolating ourselves. And even those people, they live just as long as we do or longer.
Yeah.
So it's like they understand Dude, I heard a guy explaining that a tribe in Africa, if they can't find water, they'll go to a salt cave. They'll get a piece of salt rock. They'll go dig a hole in a tree and stick the salt in there. A baboon will come running out and go stick his hand because he loves the salt. He can smell it. And so he goes in and he grabs the salt and his hand puffs up and then his hand is stuck inside the hole. So then they go, all right, we're going to go out there. We're going to dig the little hole out. He's going to eat that salt and get all thirsty. And he knows where the water is. So then they just follow him to the water.
Wow.
We are not stupid. There's no caveman, dude. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then you have these breakaway civilizations, dude. It doesn't exist. You're talking about an alternative, like a history where like that's not the rewritten history. Cavemen, get out of here with that.
That's what I think the biggest psyop in the world is, man. Honestly, one of at least is that we're at the pinnacle of human evolution, right? That now in 2025, we're just now like we're at the peak of all the information that we could ever learn scientifically. We're building the craziest shit that we've ever built because, it's 2025, bro. And like, we're humans, man. And that's what we do. But I think that's the biggest psyop. I think that, they, right, whoever the fuck they are, they know that there was a previous time, a previous golden age, which is their fucking terminology, which is super interesting because that's something that Trump has been throwing around super liberally lately. This golden age for America situation, right? Which just triggers me so hard. My fucking conspiracy brain is like on fire.
Do you think that he knows what he's saying, or it's just like it's just a synchronicity?
100% he knows exactly what he's saying. He's signaling to the fucking lizard people, right? Literally, and I'm not joking when I say this. He's signaling to them with their own terminology because golden age is Saturn death cult talk, right? Those people worship the golden age. That's what they worship, the time before, right? And they've done all their work with CBDCs and technocracy and fucking surveillance and all this type of shit. This move towards transhumanism and all this, smart cities, all of that is a push towards a new golden age, right? Their words. Again, look this shit up. So when Trump comes out and he's like, fuck you, fuck your CBDCs. We're doing a golden age for America, America's golden age. That's a clear signal to the lizard people, like, fuck you guys.
Every society has collapsed right after their golden age.
That too.
Every one of them. You had whatever was going on with the pyramids, and then that got nuked. You had the pharaohs and all those guys, and then they got plagued out, and you never hear about them again. You got the people that were down in like the plain of Shinar, the Canaanites and all the whatever. They got knocked out. The Israelites moved in. They had a great time. They got wiped out. Babylon came in. They got wiped out.
Keep in mind,
wiped.
Revelation does talk about the second Babylon with whoring itself out to the world through all of its riches and its clothing and its diamonds and its pearls and blah blah blah, all this sort of stuff. And when it gets destroyed in a matter of minutes, the entire earth weeps for it. It sounds like, if you read through it, I think it's like Revelation 13 or something like that, but if you read through it, it sounds just like the United States getting nuked off the face of the earth.
I mean, we have an internal nuke, which is really frightening. We have the Caldera in Yosemite. So
gone.
Got the Earth nuke, dude.
Yeah, right. We turn it to a big old smoking crater, and that's it, right?
I want to move out to the Midwest too. It's like,
Well, you know, like,
I can't wait, dude. It'll be like I'll be sitting there eating dinner, and the next moment I'll be in heaven because the entire thing is gone.
I've always said, man, these people, like, they fulfill their own prophecies, right? Like they bring about these prophecies. They propagate them in the public for hundreds and thousands of years just to get everybody like subconsciously, locked into these things. And then they bring about these prophecies, right? Because again, they're pushing towards, like, they have a different belief than any of us, right? Like they literally think that by doing blood sacrifices and like manipulating the masses and like, manipulating matter and all these types of things, like they're somehow going to like physically bring about the next golden age. Right. And that is the end of the last age. I mean, this is like a cyclical thing, right? This is something that happens, this great reset, these ebbs and flows, these wipings of societies, right? We talk about this all the time on Shadowban, right? It's like, Trump knows this shit too. Now, how like deep does he know and how in on it is he? I don't know, bro. He's probably on the same team as all those people. Like I'm no fool. But the way that he emphasizes those words, like it's clearly a signal, like we're shifting into the next age, right? Like the next age is definitely coming. Fortunately, I think it takes like 200-300 years from what I understand. If you listen to these astrotheology nerds, the guys who look at the sky clock and like they look at history and they're like, here's all the fucking, the shifts and the ages and all this stuff. Like from what I understand, it's like a 200 to 300 year shift. Now, some would argue, hey, maybe that shift started. Well, it's hard to say.
We're like 240 or 210.
Well, we don't know, right? Like, when was the actual shift into the new age? Was it like at the beginning of the United States? Like, are we talking, we've already been in this for 250 years, 300 years, and like we're at the end of the shift? Because if that's the case, that would suck. That would be shitty for us. Yeah, because we're gonna get wiped. But like, maybe this is the beginning. Maybe the whole Y2K 2000 thing or the Mayan calendar 2012 thing, maybe that was the beginning of the shift. I don't know. Or maybe that was the midpoint to the shift. Maybe we still got another 150 years.
That'd be nice.
The last Bitcoin won't be mined until fucking for another 100 years. So maybe that's the end. I don't fucking know. Like,
oh, sorry, it's Revelation 18.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's
someone's gonna call me out.
the end of the civilization. I mean, it's like they don't last forever. None of them do. A lot of them morph. I heard
that's
like
the thing, right? Yeah,
they turn into something else.
Right, like Rome. When Rome ended, it wasn't like a day where Rome just like ended. Now, I'm sure there's probably like some formal thing that might have happened or whatever, but like, like it morphed slowly into the next thing, right? So when the United States is over at some point, and that might be hundreds of years from now, this shit might roll on for a while. But when it does, it might not just be like, oh, there it goes, bye, sorry, sucks to suck. No, it could just like slowly morph into like another version of this thing. I mean, dude, listen, this guy's talking about bringing Canada and Greenland in as new states, right? Like, that doesn't seem like super crazy or profound or anything, but like, really think about that. Like just look at the map in your mind, right? Like the map of like the northern hemisphere, and then just think to yourself, like, wait a minute, the United States could just get that much more of it.
Be the biggest
right?
country
Like,
on earth.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, man. The shit's moving. The shit's
Fast.
moving for sure.
Fast.
Yeah, it's moving fast.
I don't see
the
200-300 years.
The golden age thing is sketchy long term, but my shit's out of focus. But short term for us, man,
You're like
I'm
a Bigfoot right
here
now.
for that shit, bro. Dude, I'm fuzzy, man.
It's all right.
Damn, you hate to see it, bro.
No, dude. I think what's interesting is what's an interesting possibility is that if we are getting toward the end of the age, or if there's a chance that we were, most of them get super gay and then they get destroyed. But we're getting not gay. We're going the other way. We're pretty gay. We've been, but I think there's a shift. I think we're getting a little bit less, and hopefully, and I don't mean actual well, I do kind of actually mean actual homosexual gay.
Yeah,
that stuff does happen a lot. And then, like, I think before Rome fell, there was like the emperor was like just throwing, or whatever he was throwing like a carnival or a circus like every day, while the politicians were just looting the place before it fell. Like officially collapsed. It's like we're going that way, for sure, going that way. It's like a circus every day. It's just like the news cycle is a circus, entertainment is a circus. People are spending, bro. What was the Snow White movie? It was like $250 million. I don't know. It's like a crazy amount of money that got spent on it. It made $3 million. It's like funny? They're just blowing money trying to entertain us, and it's just like, it's a crazy. It's just, I mean, that's more money than some countries don't have that as their net worth. They spend that on a movie.
I kind of, when I saw this whole thing about the pyramids, my first reaction was like, oh, that's whatever, probably some bullshit. Then I looked at it a little more and I was like, oh, wait, this could be like what I've always thought, right? Like the aliens built this shit. Like, this is crazy. This is insane. But then it kind of worries me the more I think about it, because it's like, at what point does one of these, because it seems like we are definitely in this age of information, right? Like the information's coming quick, man. Corruption here, fraud this, discovery that, right? Like rewrite history over here, like shift the time, double the timeline real quick. Like there's a lot of fucking moving parts. At what point does one of these things like hit a fucking nerve, right? For the lizard people, and they're like, oh shit. Like this one can't, like we cannot do this one. Oh, they figured out what's underneath the fucking whatever now, right? What's underneath Stonehenge? Oh no, right? Like that one we can't let out.
They find the actual pyramid in Antarctica or whatever, the Arctic.
Yeah. Oh, they flew a LiDAR plane over Antarctica and they found the giant pyramid complex and the mothership. They found the mothership, bro. No. Shut the grid down.
What does that do to the public? That's what I'm like the most, like, it's messing me up. And I already believed that was the case, but just hearing it confirmed, it's now not like a faith thing anymore. It's like, yeah. Confirmed. Like, it's messing me up, because like that means, there really is something else. Yeah. Something was meddling with or enhancing or playing with us. And it's like, it's real. And there's a real mega structure out in the Middle East buried in the earth. And that's just what we know. There could be so much more. We don't know what's in them. We know that they're there.
Skeeter says the huge library that's supposed to be under the Sphinx. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tablets and shit, right? Maybe
it's
the Emerald tablets are down there. Like that would be crazy as fuck.
When does the human being organism on Earth all like be like, whoa, there's more to this. It's not the TV. It's not the games. It's not the internet. It's like, there's something else.
Well, there's something to be said about the political climate and all of the attack your neighbor for this, that, and the other that could be distracting us from all collectively being like, let's figure all this crap out. I don't think that it's for nothing that we have, it seems that the media is trying to start a race war every single day, right? Or they're trying to divide us one way or another. Certainly some division should take place when it comes to us let's say the United States versus countries that want to kill us, right? There should be some division there. But then collectively, as a human species, there seems to be a lot of like hate your neighbor because he's white, or hate your neighbor because he's black, or hate this person because he's mixed, or hate them because of, their pink hair, or hate this, hate that, all this sort of stuff. If we could, which I don't think we ever will, but until the new age or the new heaven and new earth is here and Christ is the king of the earth, right? But until that happens, we will never collectively be able to just drop all of this nonsense and just be like, let's figure all this stuff out together. So as Jeff would say, I think the evolution of the human species, I don't think it can get past where it is now because of how much we don't collectively work together.
That sucks. Because it's cool.
It is.
What
cool,
was that? I want to know what that was. What
is that? By design, man. I would just argue that is by design. If you could pick out any one thing, right? Oh, the fucking education system just makes us factory workers more stupid, right? Or like the fluoride in the water makes us fucking stupid, or the social media just makes us fucking stupid. Like all these different things. Like you're talking about the social divisions just keep us distracted, right? And you'd be pissed off at this guy, so you're not pissed off up the ladder, right? And it's like, I would just argue that the biggest, like, I would just go back to it, man. Like the biggest psyop ever perpetrated on humanity is that we're a much older civilization and much more capable than what we're led to believe. Like this is not the pinnacle. Where we're at now is not the top of the food chain. Like there's been previous cycles where like humans have built fucking 2-kilometer deep mega structures underneath the Great Pyramids, right? Like there was times where we were doing that kind of stuff. So don't let them fool you to think that like this is it.
Yeah, I heard. Were you saying that the Great Wall is facing the wrong way?
Yeah, this is another interesting one. I got to look into this more because I haven't looked into this at all.
Like that it predates China, like they just found it.
Yeah. Like the idea is that like if you look at the Great Wall of China, it looks as if like the arrow slits and like the defensive structures on the wall are actually facing into China, as if it was like whoever built that was keeping that side, the Chinese side, out of the other side, I guess the Mongolian side. So it's not as if it's not the way that history's told us that.
Well, that's
China
because of the giant
wall.
lizard beasts that were there. I mean, there's that movie, Matt Damon.
There is that movie with Matt Damon, and it's terrible. You could tell that's totally him just like giving into the Chinese fucking propaganda machine because they give him millions of dollars.
Definitely because of the lizard beasts that were in China.
Yeah, that was a good movie though, despite it being like total Chinese propaganda. But like the idea that the wall was built the other way around to keep whatever out, this is like some Game of Thrones shit, man. The more I think about all the stuff that's happening, it's like some Skyrim, Game of Thrones level shit, man.
Yeah, dude. It's like you go up to the mountain and you're like, oh, there's the big, like, statue of Azul or whatever. It's like this big thing standing in the mountain with the star. And it's like, whoa, what the heck is that? Where'd that come from? And then you got the big temple over here and you got the dragon runes buried somewhere else. And it's like, what is that? Now they're back. Now they're out. It's almost getting to the point where like, we got the aliens. We have the ancient civilizations and the breakaway and whatever that was. We got these mega structures and stuff, which just means that we're not alone,
right?
Whether it's spiritual or alien, whatever. We're prime. We're prime for Blue Beam, dude. We're absolutely prime for Blue Beam. But dude, we're prime. The government is giving us all this, saying, "Hey, listen, Blue Beam."
They could literally say we cracked these things open and here's the aliens that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now they're in charge of the government.
And one of them the preamble.
It's kind of funny, man. Like, how like they're revamping all the old nostalgic shit now, right? Like they're bringing back old movies and redoing them and they're terrible. And like same with games. Like I saw some shit the other day. It was like new deals on PlayStation and I opened it up and it's like PlayStation 3 games. They just updated it for PlayStation 5. I'm like, what the fuck is this, bro? Like, give me something new. It's almost like they're doing that with all of the information. Like, I'm literally waiting for them to be like, new discovery, we found Excalibur, right? Like in the fucking, like literally, like, no, we actually found Excalibur, like it's real, and be like, what are you fucking talking about, dude? Like,
Yeah, some lady in a pond threw it at one of the scientists.
right. That's crazy. I don't know, man. But listen, if there is mega structures under that pyramid thing has to be peer reviewed, from what I understand. It hasn't been peer reviewed yet, so they don't know for sure. But listen, if that's there, bro,
I think it's going to change some stuff.
Oh, we lost Chucky. You seen that movie Prometheus?
Yeah.
And they're like the Greek god looking statue, fucking aliens, and
chiseled jawlines.
Yeah, and like they
Big
went to the other planet. In the movie, they went to the other planet, right? And they found the giant cave, and like in there was like the mothership or whatever, with like these things in cryo or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But like I would just say maybe that shit's here on Earth somewhere, right? Like maybe there's somewhere under the pyramid, under Antarctica. I don't know. Like we're gonna stumble across one day, like, oh shit, here's our actual ancestors.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That's why I said maybe that those structures underneath the pyramid is an ark, just like how we have our ark project, where they take all of the seeds and all the stuff and all the blood samples from all the animals and all the frozen sperm and eggs and all that sort of stuff, and they've got it buried in a laboratory way down deep in the earth, just in case there's ever like some massive calamity. Maybe it's the exact same thing, but for them. So we're gonna crack that thing open and find species preserved that have been extinct for thousands of years.
It's all going to be dead because humans fucking looted the polished limestone shell off of the pyramid, which was the thing that was, providing the energy to keep the fucking ark underneath the ground at, refrigerative temperatures or some crazy shit like that. And we're going to find out when we get down there. Yeah, we're going to find out when we get down there, like, damn, we shouldn't have fucking looted the shit because that was what was keeping this thing fucking rolling, man. Like, assholes,
right?
Shit, dude.
Well, I mean, hey, there's something to be said about being buried that far down. I mean, it is a refrigerator. I mean, at certain levels, it becomes hotter, right? You can't dig so far down without it getting really hot.
Do you build that, dude?
So
I just don't understand.
With picks and shovels, I guess.
Just so we can all look at it again.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. That's crazy, dude. That's pretty wild.
I've put the theory out there on is my connection good? Can you all hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, because I lost it for a minute. I put the theory out there on Shadowband a couple times. Like, there's another book in the Bible, or not in the Bible. There's a book, the Apocalypse, I think, Apocalypse of Adam, where it talks about Adam right after the garden. Because that's just, again, there's no record of it. Nothing didn't happen, right? I mean, so right after he gets kicked out, like the whole mess of figuring things out in his human body and all this kind of stuff. It's a horribly
Oh, you're lagging out, bro.
It's because
he's lagging out, bro.
Sad.
He's figuring it out. That's why.
You're getting lagged, bro. You're getting fucking DDoS attacked. Damn, you hate to see it. You hate to see it, man.
Skeeter says, today, Junior.
Fuck you, Skeeter.
Just call it, dude. I'm sorry. We'll do that.
It's all right, bro. It's
I'm
not
lagging.
your fault. Yeah, you're lagging pretty bad, bro. It's pretty rough.
All right. Let's go ahead and call it. It's an hour and a half in. Thank you for joining us. It's been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole and the Shadowband podcast coming in for a swap cast. So this episode will be on their station and our station coming up probably in like a month for us, but for them, probably a lot sooner. I don't know. We'll see. 6 months. They're stacked. But yeah, it's been a good episode chatting about all this stuff. I know it was in the chats that it was pretty Bible heavy, but that's what happens when you get three people together that
get over it,
more or less believe in the Bible, right? Or at least aspects of it, certainly with Jeff. But yep, y'all take it easy. Join us next time in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh gosh, he's throwing up his gang signs. The all-seeing eye right here. I'll give you a heart. All right, bye.
Dude, the eye. That's hilarious.
Just for the haters in the chats that are like, you guys are fucking shells.
Right.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. If you're looking for more of our stuff, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com, where you can find links to all the podcast players that we are available on, and even our video platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. While you're there, make sure to check out all the links for our socials and hit that follow so you know when all the new stuff from our podcast comes out. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye.